Indigenous Communities of Indonesia, Gender, Education, and Nationalism, held by Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 7 days, we have had discussions with many researchers and academicians regarding the education, gender, and nationalism issues around indigenous communities in Indonesia. But today, we are going to have something special. That is a talk show with people that are actually a part of some of the indigenous communities in Indonesia. All right, so the first one, we have Bapak Ahmad Bukhori Muslim, PhD. He is the Director of International Affairs at UP, which I believe some of you may already know him, but what you don't know is that he is an actual native of Baduy community. The second one, we have Daniel Cabrera, a musician and composer from Mexico, who focused his study on Sundanese culture and has been living here in Bandung, as well as collaborating with many Sundanese communities for more than 4 years. And the last one, we have Miss Alpha, a native of Kasepuhan Ciptagelar and the daughter of the community leader of Kasepuhan Ciptagelar. She has graduated from UPI with a bachelor degree in Sundanese language and culture education. All right, before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to inform you that at the end of today's session, there will be a brief explanation or preparation for tomorrow's group discussion with Bapak Vidi Sukmayadi, SSMSI. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now I would also like to invite Bapak Cep Ubat Abdullah MPD as our moderator for today's session. All right, so Pak Ubat, are you ready?
Well, before I proceed, should I invite Ibu Uci to speak first, or?
Pak Ubat, could you hear my voice?
Yeah, hello? Hello?
Halo Pak Ubat.
Ubat, suaranya kecil.
We still could not hear your voice, Pak. Maybe you could try to join the room.
What about now?
Still very low.
Hello, hello?
Yeah.
Not very loud, Ubat.
Check, check, sound check. Wait. What about now?
A bit louder, but still.
Hello? Hello?
Make it louder again.
Already the maximum volume.
Oh, you need to put your mouth closer to the microphone.
Okay, check.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. Now we can clearly hear your voice, sir.
All right. I'm really sorry for the technical issue. Well, before I proceed, should I invite Ibu Uci to talk first, or?
Buci? Oh.
Ya, silakan. Gimana? So how about let me?
Oh no, so I just proceed now. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. Okay, let me give me like about 3 minutes to talk here. Is it okay? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Everyone, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening for those who are in some different part of the world. Yeah. Well, I hope everyone are still in good health and still in good condition. We are now in our days 8 of this summer programs. In the past 6 days, we have learned about indigenous communities around Indonesia from 5 main islands and one very famous island. We have learned indigenous communities from Sumatra, from Kalimantan, from Sulawesi that had been delivered by Ibu Harlina. Ibu Harlina also here, yeah, about Kajang people. From Papua, about Korowai communities, and also from Java, about Samin people that have been delivered by Pak Fuji, if I'm not mistaken. And from Bali, we have learned about, do you still remember? What?
I do.
Indigenous community?
I definitely do.
Trunyan people from
Pak Uba,
Tabaga.
this is for the participants. I know you already know everything.
The names of the
Okay,
guys.
yeah. From Bali Agak people and also from Trunyan, yeah. And also, but those presentations about the indigenous communities is based on the perception or based on the view from the academician as the researchers. Our speakers are the researchers from those fields, and what have been delivered is a perception from the speakers as a academician or as a researchers. And yeah, I really hope that you can grasp many information about indigenous communities of Indonesia as you are expected to do so. But now we have a special day for today. Why I call this as a special day? Because today we are not only meet or hear the information from the researchers or from the academician, we also give you an opportunity to meet directly to the people from the indigenous communities in Indonesia. Well, actually, not from the indigenous communities that have been discussed. We provide you another indigenous communities. Pak Ubat will lead you the session. Hope you enjoy and dig lots of information. You may ask directly to them about anything that you would like to know more about indigenous, how they do their life, especially related to the topic that becomes your project. Okay, Pak Ubat, maybe that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibu Chi. I hope that my voice is now clear, loud and clear. Well, hello there, everyone. I really hope that everybody's in good health and safety, because as far as I'm concerned, in this very strange, difficult, and scary time, those two are the most important things that we need to have. It's been day 8 already of this virtual summer program. And as Alfat say, our master of ceremonies said that today's session will be a little bit different because it's going to be like a talk show, more like a talk show. So we're going to chill out a little bit. And as you may have heard, that today we are going to listen to voices from within. That three of our speakers, two actually, two of our speakers are native indigenous community. So without further ado, I would like to invite Pak Ahmad Bukhari. Okay, so I will give, in this first session, I will give the opportunity for each of the speakers to introduce themselves, starting with my very own boss, my teacher. I'm so lucky to call him my teacher and my very own boss because he's actually a part of the indigenous community. Pak Abu, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Pak Ubat. Can you hear me?
Sure, loud and clear.
Yes, thank you very much. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Selamat siang, Ibu Harlina. I have here one very diligent speaker, yeah? But I always stay here almost every day. I'm Ahmad Bukhari. I'm the head of the director of the International Affairs, but I'm going to talk about, I'm actually not Bali people, but I was born in Lewi Damar, that's the Lewi Damar, where the Bali community lives. And also during my childhood, I spent my childhood there, and I had a strong connection with Bali people because when I was young, when I was a kid, I used to meet them because they usually come to my house selling some products. And then, of course, I had some product. And then also I could make some handicraft from the Bali people. And then even some of the Bali people, they came to my village and live in my village until now. And some of them, they converted to Islam and become Muslim, and they get married with some of my relatives in Banten. So I'm going to describe myself as along with this slide presentation. So I made, how long is my time, Pak Ubat? Because I have 80 slides, Pak Ubat.
Oh, it's too long. It's 10 minutes each.
But it's
for
only
pictures.
it is only pictures. Don't worry.
All right then.
Okay, so this is the welcome gate to the Baduy. So the name of Baduy is actually, that's outside name for the Baduy, because like Bedouin in English or in Arabic. So it's like the nomadan people. The local people call them Kanakes. Kanakes is the name of the local people. So we call them Kanakes, not Baduy, but outsiders, they call them Baduy. It's like the name of other indigenous community. So this is the gate to the area. So I'm going to talk about demography, belief, agriculture, gender, education, nationalism, modernity, and also some issues of concern, but very quickly. Look, so this is the Baduy community, which is not very far, not like in with Bu Harlina or in with Pak Harno in Papua. This is very close to Jakarta. The capital city, it only takes about 4 hours drive from Jakarta. So that's why many people from Jakarta come to Baduy. So anyone been to Jakarta? The participants, you may know that you can go and travel to Baduy. This is my hometown. So I was born in my birthplace in Desa Wantisari, which is Kecamatan Lewi Damar. So the sub-district of Lewi Damar, which is the same sub-district where the Baduy people live. So from my village to the Baduy people, it's only 20 kilometers, 1 hour, motorbike or car, but the road is not that smooth. It's a bit bumpy. So the Baduy people now, it's about 11 and 12,000 people, consisting of inner and outer Baduy community. Sorry, that typo. So the inner community limited to 40 families. I think I heard from Kajang or from where inner and outer community. They're located in 3 villages, but the rest is the outer community. So what that only 40 families, so any of them broke the rule, they have to leave the inner circle and then have to move to the outer community. So this is the Baduy people. Look at the color. The white one is the inner Baduy, and is it black or dark blue? So that's the dark blue is outer. So you can distinguish from the shirt. So can you see here? So this is the outer and the inner. They work together, but only the house, the village is different. And look at this bridge. In Baduy community, everything should be traditional. They cannot accept outside products. So for example, they cannot accept nail in building construction. So all the houses, the bridges, they never use nail at all. So everything is using only knot and rope like this one. So this is the Baduy people. So if you look at the dress, I can guess that they are outsider or insider. I think they must be outsider. This is the kid, the children. So they are wearing bottoms like sarung. And look, this is outsider. They already now, they start wearing sandal too. But the original one, they are barefoot. This is the female of Baduy people. So this is the road to the area of Baduy. And this is the villages. Look, all these houses are made of wood, but no nail use here. So all the construction is using only, like, what's that one? What's that one about when you have to stick something with, but not the nail, but not from the metal, but from the wood, everything from the wood. So this is the Baduy community where, look at these people, I think they're tourists visiting. Look at this one, the houses. It looks, my grandfather used to have this house, so I'm very familiar with this one because some house in my village until now still look like this one. It's made from bamboo, from wood. So this is the Baduy's boys and girls. Look at this, the bridge. Look at the bridge. No nail is used. It's all with ropes. And that's the houses. And look, when they go to the city, yes, they have to walk. They cannot take, that, especially for the inner Baduy. The outer Baduy now, they also sometimes take transportation. But look, they're all barefoot. And when they walk, they have to make one line. So this, I think, is very good discipline. So always walk on the same line. So this is the Baduy people. So look at the three, that's the brown color, Cibeo, Cikartawana, and Cikesik, that's the insider. And the other one are outsiders. So they have Pu'un. Pu'un is the leader of the insider. And Jaro is the leader of the outsider. So they're very independent. Look, number one, they do not use no electricity. Number two, in farming, they do not use, what's that one? The chemical product, yes. And then no motorcycle, no vehicles. And then they produce their own, and then they rely on the paddy. So what's the region? They believe in Sunda Wiwitan. I'm not sure if that also shared by Alpha and Cipta Gelar. Sunda Wiwitan means ancient Sundanese. So it's based on the Hinduism, actually. And then they believe in self-sufficiency, and they believe in harmony with nature. But now some people converted to Islam, and a little converted to Christianity. Look, this is Baduy people. They have the KTP, national ID. Look at the KTP. Can you read agama? Agama means religion. It SWWT stands for Sunda Wiwitan. That's the KTP of the Baduy people. But sometimes they don't put the religion because the government now allows them to have. But the government, Indonesian government, they need to have belief in kepercayaan. Some people now, they have converted to Islam. So this is the village where the Muslim Baduy live. So they receive donation from the community. So now, for example, they have Mu'alaf Baduy, or the launching of, yes, so this is the religion. For agriculture, they rely on farming and fishing. This is, they have dry field, or called huma. I remember when I was young, when I was a kid, I used to do this one. So I like, we have it, we call it ngasak. You know, ngasak, when it's, we grow the rice by using this stick, and then we eat some on the ground, and then we put the seed of the rice. So the female, I like this one because after this, we can have food together. So we have, I like this one. So this is the rice. Yes, Bobat. How many more minutes, Bobat?
Now, apologies for interrupting, but would you please kindly turn off the notification of your WhatsApp because it keeps.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bobat. Okay.
It keeps. Yeah. Thank you.
Hang on. Thank you, Bobat.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so this is the rice. They put the rice this way. I remember I had this one in my village until now. So they put the rice outside. This is to dry the rice. When it's dry, they put it in this container, this small house. It's called leit, where they can put the rice. I remember my grandpa, my father used to have this one behind my house. So this also practiced not only by Baduy, but also by people in my village. Look, I remember I get into the leit to get the rice. So this is how they, was that one? They clean the rice to get the rice from the paddy to get the rice. And this is the product. So durian, that's one of the important commodity from the Baduy, and also the banana. And this one, which is palm tree, where they can pick up palm sugar. So this is the palm sugar in the Baduy community. So they have their own, what's it one? Like, where they can make the shape, yeah? Palm sugar from the community. Another one is honey. Yes, it's very famous, the honey from the Baduy community. What about gender? It's patriarchal because I mentioned earlier, Pu'un, that's the head of the insider, and Jaro, and also, but the female also working inside and outside. So this is one of the Pu'un. The past ones here already passed away. Jaro Daina. That's in the middle. This is how the female work and help the family. I think it's always in every culture, female are very strong. They can work domestically and also outside the house. They work also here. This is the weaving, yes. They can make the, what's that one? The fabric, which is typical of the Baduy community. the female Baduy. What about education? Yes, education, formal education, it's still resistant. Until now, they're still resisting the formal education, especially because the Jaro refuse it. They say it's not part of our culture. But of course, the community still want it. That's why now they have studied, because they believe, the parent believe that parental assistance is very important. It's more important than schooling, than going to school. So they need to help the parent in the farm. All the children work in the farm, so helping, carrying products. But now they start learning. So they have a mobile teacher. I don't know if I have time to play the video. If not, so this is the mobile teacher by outsider who came to and then introduce reading and writing to people. So this is one of my study on the Baduy community on learning. So that's one of my title is Imagine Baduy Children. So working with parents and little time to play. So for Baduy people, helping parents is more important than playing like other children. Another work is this one, disadvantage but more resilient. So the Baduy children, although they don't go to school, but they are more resilient because the nature like shape their life. For nationalism, yes, Jaro is the administrator, and then they work with the local government and also involvement in some, because the location is very close. So look, they have exciting Seba. Seba mean like giving. So they give the agriculture product to the local. This is the governor of Banten, Halim. His name is Halim. So, and this is the Jaro. The left is the Jaro of Baduy, and the right with the glasses is the governor of Banten province. So this is the exciting Banten Seba Baduy. So the Baduy people, they came to the office of the governor to serve, to give their agriculture product. So they gather in front of the office of the governor. So they come walking. Can you imagine walking 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers? Yes, this is the product. This is elections. So although Pavi mentioned earlier that they call it lunang, milu dengan yang menang, like following the winner, but again, the election, it depends on the Jaro. When the Jaro says A, then all the people will say A. So when the Jaro says B, then everyone will say B. Can you imagine how can they choose the ballot when they cannot read and write? I just couldn't imagine what happens to the result of this one, yeah? Yes, this is the Baduy who have converted to Islam. So now they have school, local school, madrasah, and they also have this flag ceremony. Modernity. Outer people accepting, but insider still not yet accepting. So now, because of the many tourists, they welcome tourists. So they provide now like selling some products and handicraft to the tourists coming to the community. So this is one of the Baduy girl. Look, now even the bag, the container, they have now transport. Yeah, so that is modernity. Wow, so this is an example of the Baduy community. They have cell phone now. What about the signal? I'm not sure the signal is good, but sometimes when they go to the city, they can use the signal, but when they go back to the home, because until now, in my village, until now, I have to go to the hill to find a signal for the phone.
But that person on the picture, he has an Instagram account.
Yeah, so he's very, very, you know, very pop culture Baduy. Yes, look, they're learning how to use camera. Maybe this is from the tourists, how to use the camera and radio. They go to the city, they go to Rangkas Bitung, they go to Jakarta, walk barefoot. To Jakarta, it takes about like 100 kilometers to Jakarta or 80 kilometers. Look, this is in Monas in Jakarta. The Baduy people, they sell honey. And now a new movie made by Indonesian cineasts. It's called Ambu. So can you identify the celebrity here? See Bella what? Bella. There's a newly released movie about Baduy people. Yes, now the last one, some concern, yes. Although with this one, so we have some problem with the Baduy community because the Baduy and the government make the Baduy community as the tourism side, but at the same time, they do not really give or special attention. For example, the road to the area is not that good. So although the government promote this as a tourism destination, but the infrastructure is not that good. So this tourist coming to Cibolege, this is the outer community where I think some Mang Fidi has been here maybe. It is a backpacker from Jakarta, the tourists coming to the area. And then sometime the politician, before the election, they came here. Yes, tourists. And this one, do you know what is this one inside? That is the body of one student from SMP, high school, junior high school in Jakarta. They came to Baduy, a group of students of junior high school from Jakarta, and they play in the river, but they didn't really pay attention to the route, to the, what's that one? To the local wisdom. Then they were drowned in the river, 5 of them.
That's too bad.
They died. Yes, 5 students from SMP, a junior high school from Jakarta, died in the river. So the concern is they don't want to become the object of the tourism. They want to be actor. They want to get the benefit, not only as object by the outsider. Because this outsider, sometimes they didn't really pay attention to the local wisdom, to the local rule. For example, rubbishing, littering is one of the issue of the Baduy people. Now, some plastic in the river of the Baduy people taken or brought by the tourists. Because they really pay attention. Although they are farmers, but they really pay attention with the nature. They divide the forest into 3. The first one is the forest which they can use for farming. The second one is the forest that can use for food hunting. And another part of the forest which should be reserved as a source of living. That's my short presentation, Pak Ubad, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pa Abu. I have to say that you do know how to make an entrance. That was such an epic introduction. So it's really good. And I myself have a lot of questions in my mind already. And I believe so do the participants, but I have to hold it. You have to hold it. We still have 2 more speakers to introduce themselves. Number 2, we will have Teh Elva Yulia Safitri. And to find out more about who she really is, we're going to present to you a video of her introduction and also her indigenous community introduction. So please relax, sit back, and enjoy the video.
Di Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar, di sini saya akan sedikit bercerita mengenai perjalanan saya dari Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar sampai menjunjung pendidikan di perguruan tinggi. Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar berada di Dusun Sukamulya, Desa Sirna Resmi, Kecamatan Cisolo, Kabupaten Sukabumi. Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar ini merupakan pusat pemerintahan dari 568 kampung yang ada di 3 kabupaten, yaitu Kabupaten Sukabumi, Kabupaten Bogor, dan Kabupaten Lebak Banten. Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar itu sendiri berasal dari kata sepuh, yang berarti ada seseorang yang disepuhkan atau dituakan di kasepuhan tersebut. Maka dari itu Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar dinamakan Kasepuhan. Cipta Gelar itu sendiri berasal dari kata cipta dan gelar. Cipta di sini berasal dari nama sesepuh yang waktu itu baru saja memindahkan kasepuhan yang berada dari Kasepuhan Cipta Rasa yang sebelumnya kemudian dipindahkan ke Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar pada tahun 2001. Gelar itu sendiri berarti sudah waktunya untuk digelarkan atau diperlihatkan segala sesuatunya. Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar sekarang dipimpin oleh Abah Ugi Sugriana Rakasiwi yang saat itu menggantikan Abah Anom, yaitu Abah Encup Sucipta pada tahun 2008. Abah Ugi Sugriana Rakasiwi ini sebelumnya sedang menjalankan bangku perkuliahan pada semester 3. Lalu kemudian terpaksa untuk berhenti karena harus menggantikan ayahnya sebagai pemimpin kesepuhan. Selanjutnya Abah Ugi menjalankan kepemimpinannya dibantu oleh beberapa orang yang disebut sebagai rorokan. Rorokan ini terdiri dari 7 baris sepuh atau yang biasa kita sebut baris kolot, yaitu rorokan dukun, rorokan jero, rorokan paninggaran, rorokan paraji, rorokan bengkong, rorokan pamakayaan, dan rorokan panghulu atau amil. Kasepuhan Ciptagelar itu memiliki sebuah tatanan adat atau yang bisa kita sebut dengan prinsip kehidupan yang terdiri dari beberapa prinsip-prinsip yang tidak hanya diucapkan tetapi selalu kita jalankan, yaitu seperti halnya kudu bisa ngigelan zaman tapi ulah kabawakeun ku zaman. Di sini boleh kita menambah apapun seperti halnya modernisasi. Kita tidak menutup untuk modernisasi tersebut, tetapi tidak boleh mengurangi apa yang ada atau yang sudah kita jalankan selama 652 tahun yang lalu. Dalam sistem pemerintahan atau rorokan atau kepemimpinan Abah Ugi Sugriana Rakasiwi, sistemnya yaitu secara turun-temurun yang diturunkan dari ayah ke anaknya, atau dari laki-laki ke laki-laki lagi, atau dari perempuan ke perempuan lagi. Selain dari pada prinsip tersebut, masih banyak prinsip-prinsip yang masih digunakan oleh Kasepuhan Ciptagelar, yaitu pondok teu meunang disambung, panjang teu meunang dipotong, yang artinya sama, boleh menambahkan tetapi tidak boleh mengurangi. Boleh menambahkan tetapi tidak boleh mengurangi. Seperti halnya Kasepuhan Ciptagelar sekarang memiliki wifi atau mungkin Ciga TV, Studio TV khusus untuk dokumentasi upacara-upacara adat yang kita jalankan. Jadi pada dasarnya Kasepuhan Ciptagelar tidak menutup dari modernisasi, tapi tidak juga untuk meninggalkan adat dan tradisinya. Berkaitan dengan pendidikan, Kasepuhan Ciptagelar juga memiliki prinsip yang memang dipegang oleh kita, termasuk saya, yaitu prinsip mun can bisa kudu bisa, tapi mun can bisa ulah bisa. Jadi artinya kalau misalnya kita belum bisa, ya kita harus belajar. Tetapi setelah kita belajar, setelah kita bisa, tidak harus bisa di situ tuh bermaksud hanya untuk kita gitu. Prinsip tersebut itu dipegang salah satunya oleh saya ketika saya menjalankan pendidikan yang menjadi titipan atau amanah dari orang tua saya, yaitu satu, kata beliau, tenan naon kalau mun bade sakola sing saluhur-luhurna oge, nu penting urang mah anu dijembaran teh hate, lain ngajembaran harta, saurna teh gitu. Itu juga merupakan salah satu motivasi saya kenapa saya harus menjalankan pendidikan sampai ke perguruan tinggi, dikarenakan tidak banyak, bahkan bisa terhitung oleh jari ketika ada seseorang yang meneruskan pendidikan ke perguruan tinggi. Saat saya sekolah dasar, Saya merupakan angkatan pertama dari sekolah tersebut. Saat itu kebetulan di Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar mendapat bantuan dari pemerintahan untuk adanya sekolah. Saat saya sekolah pertama, yaitu pada tahun 2005, saya masih mengalami di mana belajar itu tidak memakai meja, tidak ada meja dan tidak ada kursi. Dan gurunya pun saat itu masih bisa dihitung jari, tidak lebih dari 5. Kelasnya pun hanya 3 ruang, yaitu kelas 1, kelas 2, dan kelas 3. Jadi sekolahnya pun bergiliran, di mana siang pagi-pagi untuk kelas 1, 2, 3, terus siangnya untuk kelas 4, 5, 6. Seperti itu. Tapi melihat sekarang pendidikan di Kasepuhan sudah berjalan dan berkembang dengan pesat, seperti adanya guru-gurunya sudah memadai juga, seperti itu. Jadi ketika saya melihat seperti ini, ada banyak membangun diri saya sendiri untuk terus ingin melanjutkan ke jenjang pendidikan yang lebih tinggi. Saat saya SMP dulu, belum ada SMP di Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar, yang kemudian saya harus keluar dari Kasepuhan, harus berjalan setiap pagi-pagi selama perjalanan selama 5 km, setengah jam, terus pulang juga. Jadi masih mengalami bagaimana sulitnya untuk menerima pendidikan di Kasepuhan saat itu. Untuk sekarang alhamdulillah sudah dekat, sudah ada SMP, sudah ada SD, namun belum ada SMA. Saya pun SMA ke luar, yaitu ke kota Sukabumi saat itu. Saat saya SMA, saya mengalami banyak kekagetan tersendiri ketika saya mulai melihat bagaimana dunia luar atau dunia perkotaan. Sampai saya terinspirasi mengambil jurusan pendidikan sastra dan Sunda di UPI Bandung karena memang termotivasi ketika saya ke SMA. Banyak sekali hal yang memang ingin saya pertahankan untuk bisa kembali lagi ke Kasepuhan. Dan setelah pada akhirnya saya kembali lagi ke Kasepuhan, yang tadinya memang pada saat SMP saya melihat sesuatu yang memang mungkin tidak tertarik untuk berbicara ataupun mengingatkan, seperti halnya memakai samping dan memakai ikat, seperti itu, ikat kepala. Tapi setelah saya pulang ke Kasepuhan dan saya melihat sesuatu yang memang banyak berpengaruh, kemudian ada rasa yang memang rasanya saya harus mengingatkan, seperti itu. Jadi ketika saya sudah mendapat pendidikan lebih tinggi, yang ada di dalam diri saya tidak ingin keluar dari Kasepuhan, malah ingin memajukan Kasepuhan, khususnya di dalam dunia pendidikan. Cukup sekian yang bisa saya sampaikan, kurang lebihnya mohon dimaklum. Terima kasih. Sampurasun.
Rampes. Wow, the video is so touching. It really hit me in the heart. I don't know about you, but it did really hit me in the heart. Thank you so much, Teh Elva. Terima kasih banyak. Nanti siap-siap kita tanya jawab. Kayaknya bakal banyak yang bertanya ke Teh Elva. Jadi Teh Elva siap-siap. Tapi sebelumnya, but before that, we still have one more speaker to introduce himself. So, without further ado, I would like to invite Daniel Antonio Cabrera. How should I call you, sir?
Daniel Antonio Milan Cabrera. That's my full name.
Okay. And what's your nickname? How should I address you?
Daniel.
Daniel. Okay. Kang Daniel, please. A brief introduction of yourself.
Okay. I'm from Mexico, from a city called Mérida, which is a Mayan area. But as many of you know, we Mexicans are like a bit mix of especially 3 races, like Spanish and indigenous people and African people. So I even though I have some Asian blood, like from my old ancestors.
Oh.
So I'm a musician. I study music composition in Mexico City in the National University. So I was quite interested in traditional music from around the world because that expanded my consciousness about sound, about music, about philosophy, about religion. So a friend just invited me, hey, do you want to play gamelan? What is gamelan? Just come and come on. We went to the Indonesian Embassy in Mexico City.
Oh.
We had like a Javanese Salendro gamelan. So I joined the rehearsal and I kind of like fall in love with that music.
Oh.
So while I was studying my bachelor degree, I joined the group for around 6 years. So our teacher was a Mexican who had been in Surakarta in Solo. He came back and started teaching us. All were Mexican. There was one Indonesian guy also, Javanese, but he didn't really know about his own tradition. But he was like far from his country, and he felt like he need to got into his tradition. So he started learning also. Right? So after I graduated, I already know I want to study in Indonesia because for that 6 years I get to know more about Indonesian traditional music. So I was like, hey, should I go to study Javanese music or maybe Sundanese, because we get to listen many recordings about different areas. But finally, I decided to study Sundanese. So I applied to the Dharma Siswa Scholarship in STSI Bandung, the Indonesian Art School in Bandung, which now is called ISBI. So I stayed there for 3 years. So I study, we call Karawitan, which is traditional Sundanese music. Actually, it's a Javanese term, but it's already adopted by Sundanese, and for Balinese also they adopt that term. But it's kind of like Javacentrism. So I met a lot of people from the village, because in that university, many people from the village come to study, and they are kind of like, they already know traditional music. So they just go there to get a certificate and to get more contacts to get jobs in Bandung. So they are already like masters in music. So with them, I had the chance to travel around West Java and Banten. Yeah, so 2013, I came back to Mexico. And 2018, I applied for the KNB, the master degree scholarship, to study music education in UPI. So now I've been 2 years here in UPI, 1 year more, and maybe I get graduated. And I don't know if I want to go back to my country, because I feel very happy in Indonesia.
You stay here, Neil.
Yeah, that's kind of like my short story.
Thank you so much. Well, Daniel, thank you so much. Well, to some extent, it's like a hard slap in my face, because, how can you know a lot more about my culture than myself? So I feel like now I need to reconnect with my own culture too. Thank you for that reminder, Daniel. Well, everybody, now that each of the speakers has introduced themselves, let's give them a big round of applause for the great introduction. And before I invite you to ask questions, I know that you have a lot to ask and to discuss, but me first, okay? Because I'm the host, so I need to ask them questions too. But let's have a look at the chat box. Geronimo commented that I recognize Widyawati in the Ambu movie, classic Indonesian actress. Wow, wow.
Wow, Geronimo, you're very well known. Yes, I don't remember the name. Widyawati, yes.
Do you know a lot of Indonesian actors and entertainers, Geronimo?
Dian Sastro.
Wow.
Everybody knows. Yeah. And who's your favorite so far?
Dian Sastro.
All right.
But likes her too, actually.
Yeah, but I prefer Raisa. Wow. So I have questions to each of the speakers, but let me start with my very own boss, Pak Abu. Pak Abu, I have two questions. Number one is quite personal, and then number two, it's not as personal as number one. I heard that you were born in an area around Baduy people, so I believe that you interacted a lot with Baduy people. So, as a kid, how did you see yourself related? I mean, how did you identify yourself? Did you believe that you belonged to the Baduy community, or like you were actually an outsider? And did it change as you grew and you pursue your higher education and stuff? How did that self-identification of yourselves and the Baduy community transform age by age? That's number one. And then number two, it's very interesting because you told us that some of the Baduy community pursue education and also modernity and stuff, where we heard for the past few days that some of the outsiders came there for the sake of modernity and business and stuff. They just took the advantage of the people. So it's just the capitalist. How did you actually see that as somebody really close to the indigenous community? Thank you.
Thank you, Fabad. The question is very challenging, and actually, moderator is not supposed to ask question, actually.
I'm the host. This is a talk show, and I'm a host.
Okay.
I can do it.
Okay, so first of all, Fabad, so yes, I was born in Lewi Damar, so that's as I mentioned earlier. So when I was a kid, I remember my grandmother she had a small shop selling some food and then like groceries. And she also received the foods from the Baduy people. So the Baduy female came to my grandma shop and then they sold, for example, durian, sugar palm, and then everything, all the products. And then sometimes we also employ these Baduy people in our farm. So I'm familiar with them. I know them, and then recently, maybe in the last 10 or 20 years, with this education, then some Baduy, they were converted to Islam, and then some of the people. So this is the government program. So the government like empowering the Baduy people. So they introduce, so the people, innocent people, they come to the Baduy people. They advertise and introduce the religion, and some they convert to Islam. And then the government established a special village for the Baduy people who have accepted the new religion, and also because by the new religion they welcome education too. So the government provide that video I had with Ibu Ai. She's from Cianjur. So she set up a school inside the Baduy community in the village of Cicakal Girang, and her school is called Sekolah Wiwitan, because that's again from the Sunda Wiwitan. But and also the government also set up some madrasah or Islamic school for those who have converted to Islam. So from the very beginning, I was very familiar with the Baduy people, and I consider them as part of our life, because until now, in my village, in my neighbor, if I return home now, my parents were still in Banten. So we have some neighbors who are Baduy, who live around our houses, and they live in the farm. Some of them, they have converted to Islam and become Muslim, and some of them married to my relative. I have some relatives who are married to the Baduy people who already converted to Islam. And some others are still in their ancient Sunda Wiwitan belief, which is acceptable still. And now, yes, the Baduy people have, in the past, during the New Order regime, because the government of Indonesia required all people to pick up one of the 5 recognized religion, whether it's Islam or Christianity or Catholicism or Hindu and Buddhism. So they have problem because our religion is not that 5. So we believe in Sunda Wiwitan. So sometimes they were forced to state their religion in their national ID. But now I think in the last 10 years, the government recognized the new religion is called it aliran kepercayaan or belief, so that the Baduy people, they can state their religion in that form. So that's it. Answer your question, Prabhupada, the first one?
Yeah, and now let's address the capitalist issue then.
Okay, and the second one, I don't see is that, yes, it may be capitalism because, you know, but I see is as the government empowerment. How the government wants to empower the Baduy people. Because, but also at the same time, yes, sometimes maybe this program offered by the government may not always be, that's what my study finding shows. The government program, like formal schooling, is not always compatible with what the Baduy people understand and want it. Because what they want is that the children, they can live their life, but they can also still help the parents. They can also still embrace their culture. Because by participating in formal schooling, for example, first, the location of the school is far away from the Baduy villages, so they have to travel long distance on a very bumpy and stony road, slippery. It may take 1 or 2 hours to get to the school, exhausting. And second one, the time schooling may disturb their parental system. So the parents are objective to this one. And also the Jaro or the Pu'un, they also say that this is not part of our culture. This is outside thing, which is taboo. Or they call it pamali. Yeah, pamali means taboo. But again, because of the technology, because especially the outer Baduy, I'm not sure with the insider Baduy because they are very close. My study also did not reach the insider. But the outsider Baduy, they now are open to modernity within limitation. Now they can travel outside. Sometimes they can travel also on the vehicles, on the car, yes, on the van. So yes, it may be capitalism, but like the movie, for example, like the movie just now, Geronimo knows, yes, with Widyawati, the movie may not really describe the condition of but that movie is made based on a understanding of the director of the movie, which may not really represent the condition, the real condition of the Baduy people. Yes, for example, the celebrity are all from Jakarta. Yes. So, but I think the government acknowledgement is good enough. For example, in terms of the leader of the Baduy, I remember his name is Samin. He was elected as the member of the parliament in Jakarta, DPR, representing, because Indonesian government, they admit that each indigenous community should have a representative in the parliament. One of them is from Baduy, and we call him Samin. So he sits in Jakarta as the representative of the Baduy community in the parliament house. Last 5 years, he also ran for the regency of Lebak, but unfortunately he lost in the election, so he didn't win and didn't become the regent or the bupati of. And I have another one. Those people who have converted to Islam, for example, they start studying at madrasah or Islamic school, and some of them now like Alpha. I think I have a friend who graduated from IAIN Bandung. He was the son, his name is Parta, and he was like Alpha, the child of the Baduy community who have converted to Islam. So it's maybe capitalism, yes. That's why now the Baduy people also they have a notion. The Baduy people, they want to delay Baduy from the tourism destination. Reason is because the tourists some of them are ignorant. They do not respect the wisdom and the culture of the local people. So they come to Baduy with their own culture, and they don't respect the local wisdom. For example, like ravishing and littering and everything. So now there is a motion among the people. They come to the government. Please do not promote us as the tourism destination. Because although you promote us, but you don't think of the development. You don't think of the infrastructure to the Bali community. Yeah, it's maybe, yes, capitalism, but at the same time, the program is also empowering for the Bali community. So they really welcome that program by the government. But again, the program is not enough. For example, schooling, yes, as Alpha mentioned. I think because Cipta Gelar and Badu are connected because the Sukabumi is connected, geographically connected to Lebak. If you look at the map, so from Sukabumi, from Cisolok, from Elvas, Cipta Gelar, it's connected to the Lebak where the Badu people are located. I remember I can travel to Sukabumi from Lebak, not through Puncak, but through Sukabumi, Cisolok, and then to Palabuhan Ratu. I hope this answers your question, Pak Ubad.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Abu. Is my voice?
Yes, it's low
clear?
again, Pak Ubad.
It's low again. I don't know what happens. What about now?
Okay. Maybe you turn it down.
Okay, I'm really sorry. Well, thank you very much. Well, dear participants, initially the scenario was like this. I will ask all the questions first at the first stage, and then after I finish asking questions to all the speakers, I will invite you to ask questions. But then because of the limited time, and I know that you are very enthusiastic, you really wanted to involve in this discussion. So let's take turns. I have my turn, and then now I would like to invite, Rosa. Rosa, please.
Hello, everyone. Babu, also hello. I have a question for you.
Hello, Rosa.
Hello.
Yes, please.
I have two questions, actually. One regarding your surname, because it's very interesting, Bukhari. Is it because of the Persian dialect, or it's because of the Bukhara and Al-Bukhari, which came from the Central Asia?
And you're from Uzbekistan? Are you from Uzbekistan, Rosa?
I was born there, but 20 years ago I moved.
Thank you. Is that the question? Only one?
No.
The second question regarding the education, because I also have a proficiency in the special education, cerebral palsy and autistic kids. That's what I did my humanitarian project in Southeast Asia. And when we were in Laos and Thailand, I mostly visited all provinces and very rural areas. And I also find it very interesting that the kids who are, let's say, don't have so much academic tools or something are much more talented than like the kids who are living and having almost everything. Because I grew up in Oxford, in one of the most academic cities in the world, where you have access towards everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Rosa. Babu, please.
Okay, the first one is about the name, right? So Rosa, yes, my late father was a teacher of religion. He's a teacher of Islam at Islamic school at Madrasah. And he knows that Bukhari is one of the scientists of Hadith. And he was born in Uzbekistan, I think now Bukhara, Uzbekistan. So he wants me to be like Imam Bukhari. That's why he named me that name. So he picked up that name. I know, and then he wanted me to learn to become the scholar of Hadith. Unfortunately, I may not be able to make my father happy because I just memorized 1 or 2 hadiths only. Yes, instead of thousands like what Imam Bukhari. Yes, because of that name, Rosa. So last year I had a time to visit Bukhara and Uzbekistan. So that's why I met Professor Sunario. Yes, because the current ambassador to Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, Professor Sunario, who is our former rector here for our university. So that's my name. So Rosa. Yeah, so I'm happy that
I'm also the first person who I met when I arrived in Uzbekistan was Indonesian and Malaysian ambassadors after the region. It was a great experience. So
yes, thank you, Rosa. The second one, yes, based on my interview with that mobile teacher, her name is Ibu Ai, she's from Cianjur. She said that actually the Bali people, they are also diligent and smart. So although they are deprived, they don't have this facility of school, but when they learn, they can excel. That's why these children who have converted to Islam and then who who went to the school, they can excel and they can go on to the university, to higher education, as the case with one of my younger brother's friend. So that's who now become the teacher and the school principal in a school called Madrasah Ibtidaiyah Al-Wasliyah, located in the village of Margaluyu near the Baduy community. So basically, when they are given the opportunity to develop themselves, so they can excel and they can do very well in education. So that is what the government program is. The government managed to provide opportunity for these local people to have school. So now the government, they have built school. The school are primary school, public school, or secular school, not based on religion. So where this Baduy who still believe in their Sunda Wiwitan, in their ancient Sundanese belief, so they can go to the school. And those who have converted to Islam, they get go to the Islamic school or the madrasah, where they can also study and learn. So that's I think Rosa. So now, yes, the Baduy people, but again, the number is still limited.
Thank you very much,
Thank you. Terima kasih, Rahmat.
Rahmat, Rosa. Obat Rahmat in Uzbek language means terima kasih.
Oh, Rahmat. Okay. Rahmat Rosa, and thank you very much. Terima kasih, Pak Abu. Yeah, before I invite another question from the floor, I have a question to Teh Elva. Teh Elva masih bergabung?
Iya, masih.
Oke, Teh Elva, tadi saya sangat penasaran dengan beberapa hal. Yang pertama adalah dengan keterbukaan masyarakat di Cipta Gelar terhadap teknologi, tapi harus juga tetap melestarikan adat istiadat budaya. Nah, batasannya tuh seperti apa, Teh Eva? Karena tadi saya lihat ada wifi, ada drone segala, ada laptop, ada stasiun TV dan lain sebagainya. Itu menurut saya keren gitu, tapi tetap dipertahankan kearifan lokalnya. Nah, batasnya itu sebenarnya di mana, Teh Eva? Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, tadi saya dengar dari Teh Eva, kalau saya salah dengar, harap tolong dikoreksi. Katanya tadi sistem kepemimpinannya kan dari laki-laki turun ke laki-laki dan dari perempuan turun ke perempuan. Nah, ini posisi kepemimpinan perempuan di Cipta Gelar ini bagaimana, Teh Elva? Boleh dijelaskan?
Iya. Jadi gini, kalau misalnya tadi tuh yang pertama, modernisasi di Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar itu batasnya di mana? Ketika kita misalnya sekarang ada handphone, modernisasi, wifi dan segala sesuatu, itu boleh karena itu sifatnya sudah luar. Tapi jika misalnya kita melihat ke seperti pertanian, sistem pertanian yang sudah lama kita lakukan dengan cara tradisional, nah itu tidak boleh. Seperti misalkan memakai magicom untuk memasak nasi, itu tidak boleh, kan modern. Nah, itu tidak diperbolehkan. Terus ketika misalnya menanam padi atau memanen padi menggunakan traktor misalnya atau alat-alat elektro, itu tidak boleh juga. Bahkan memindahkan padi pun meskipun jaraknya jauh, misalnya dari Ciptarasa ke Cipta Gelar yang jaraknya sekitar 10 km sampai 12 km, itu tidak boleh menggunakan kendaraan seperti motor atau mobil, tapi tetap harus memakai tenaga manusia seperti dipikul itu. Karena kan nasi itu kan makanan manusia gitu, bukan makanan mobil. Kayak gitu.
Berarti nilai di balik itu adalah karena nasi langsung dikonsumsi oleh manusia. Jadi yang terlibatnya harus manusia, nggak boleh ada campur tangan teknologi, begitu, Teh Elva? Oh ya, oke. Yang kedua, Teh Elva.
Iya. Iya, seperti itu. Ya, kalau yang kedua itu kan kepemimpinan perempuan. Sebenarnya kepemimpinan perempuan di sini itu tidak melebihi laki-laki, tapi laki yang pertama. Terus kalau yang itu kayak itu timnya paraji atau bidan kalau misalnya di Kota Maya. Kalau di Cipta Gelar mah paraji. Nah, paraji itu nanti dilanjutkannya harus sama perempuan lagi. Itu sama seperti hal pekerjaan rumah, tidak boleh dilakukan oleh laki-laki, tapi harus oleh perempuan.
Okay. Terima kasih, Teh Elva. Luar biasa penjelasannya. So, dear participants, I asked her 2 questions. Number 1, regarding the modernity in among Cipta Gelar community, because I saw that the modernity is quite high there. I even saw in the video that some people used laptops and there was a Wi-Fi TV station and even a drone. And then when I confirmed to her, she said that as long as it is not related to the farming, then technology or modernity is allowed. But in terms of farming the rice, the rice processing, it cannot involve any technology at all. It has to be by humans because it will be consumed by human. So every single process, starting from the harvesting, from the planning, the harvesting, the cooking, and even moving, for example, tons of rice, we cannot carry them using car. So it has to be carried by manually by humans because it's the consumption of the humans. So that's the local wisdom behind that. And in terms of leadership, because I heard that in terms of leadership, there is a place for women. Women may take a role, may have a role as the leaders. But then she just explained that still men's position is higher than women's position. But certain professions, like for example midwives, cannot be the role cannot be played by men. It has to be women after women after women. So that's the discussion between me and Teh Elva. Teh Elva, sekali lagi hatur nuhun.
Sami-sami. Nuhun.
Iya. Next.
Nuhun.
Iya, sawangsungan Teh. Next, I have Pak Fidi and also Nurul. Okay, which one should I pick first? Pak Fidi, can I have Nurul first, and then after that you go for the question? Is it okay?
Yeah, sure, certainly, no problem.
Thank you so much. Nurul, yes, please. Oh, but Salma also wants to ask question. All right then. Yeah. So,
Nurul first.
Yeah, you may go first, Nurul. So yeah, either Pak Fidi and Salma has already given the stage to you. The turn to you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
My question is for Kang Daniel. I would like to ask, what was the reaction of your family? Is he around? Hello.
I think he is. Kang Daniel,
Daniel?
are you here?
Yes,
Okay.
All right.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sorry. I would like to ask, what was the reaction of your family when you want to pursue your education in Indonesia for something like traditional music? How was their reaction?
I've got support. Because I actually, from my bachelor, I already moved from my city to the capital, to Mexico City, which is quite far. So they are already used to that I am far away.
Okay.
So
it's not a big deal then.
And they just let me go for my dreams. If it's your dream, go for it. And so they support. Obviously, they miss me and I miss them, but that's part of the deal.
Is your family a fan of music, especially traditional musics?
My grandfather played traditional music from my city, so he was my first teacher, actually.
Oh,
yeah,
that's why.
Yeah.
Nurul, do you have any other questions?
Maybe later.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome, Nurul. Next, Pak Fidi, yes, please.
Hello.
Hi. Why is it all dark? Okay, there you are.
So I'd like to ask Teh Elva, if I may. Okay, Teh Elva, Damang. Assalamualaikum, Teh Elva. Sampurasun.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay. Teh Elva, so I'd like to ask in Bahasa Indonesia, and then probably Pak Ubad will translate it into English, probably.
Right.
Yeah, okay, right.
I think you can do it. Oh yeah, but it's okay. That's my job.
No, that's your job. All right. Teh Elva, ya salam buktos ka Abah Ugi. Mugia damang salawatna, amin. Teh Elva, kan Abah Ugi itu dalam kepemimpinannya berarti ini ada kan kebanyakan masyarakat adat itu identiknya dengan tradisional, katakan anti teknologi. Nah, Abah Ugi ini kan sedikit tidak konvensional gitu ya, jadi mengusung kebaruan. Nah, ini apakah ada tidak semacam waktu Abah Ugi memunculkan inovasi ini? Adakah semacam nada-nada negatif atau penolakan dari penduduk sekitar atau dari tadi misalnya baris sepuh dan yang lainnya itu bagaimana? Dan bagaimana cara Abah Ugi waktu itu meyakinkan bahwa ini sangat baik untuk kemajuan kita semua, maksudnya untuk kemajuan komunitas Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar. Hatur nuhun Teh Elva. Mangga, Pak Uban.
Okay, so the question is, atur nuhun Kang Vidi, parentos masihan pada melan ka abdi. Well, so the question is, we have seen and we have discussed that technology and advancement and implementation is quite great there among Cipta Gelar community. And the man behind it is Abah Ugi as the leader. So he basically wonders whether there was any kind of resistance or rejection among the people, especially the elder community, when he started to introduce the implementation of technology among the people. And how did he, the leader, Abah Ugi, convince the people that this is something worth trying? Mangga Teh Elva di Waler.
Langsung wae di Waler paintennya. Jantan kira painten kawit nama. Nah jantan bahasa Sunda.
Iya, karena naon Teh Elva bahasa Sunda.
Jadi
tesawios.
Da orang Sunda sami.
Tesawios nganggo bahasa Sunda.
Mangga.
Mangga da sanes abdi nerjemahkeun.
Billy lihat jantan pada awalnya dulu itu sebelum ke Cipta Gelar kan Cipta Gelar itu salah satu kasepuhan yang nomaden atau berpindah-pindah. Pada saat itu, pada pas pertama masuk teknologi itu sebenarnya waktu di Cipta Rasa. Di Cipta Rasa itu sudah mulai ada TV, terus sudah ada handphone, pertama kali ada motor itu pas masih kepemimpinan Abah Anom sebelum Abah Ugi. Jadi pada saat itu, saat pindah ke Cipta Gelar, ketika pindah pun tidak boleh memakai kendaraan. Saat itu jalan terus sampai pindah di Cipta Gelar. Baru saat itu membangun jalan yang tadinya hanya jalan setapak, tidak bisa dilewati. Kemudian Abah Anom itu merintis untuk membuat jalan yang besar, terus bisa masuk mobil. Pada saat itu antusias masyarakat pun ketika mau masuk mobil itu ke Kasepuhan Cipta Gelar pada tahun masih awal-awal Kasepuhan dibangun yang di Cipta Gelar itu, masuk mobil pun sampai disawer teh pakai uang gitu, saking senengnya gitu lihat mobil, karena orang-orang sini jangankan melihat kota, melihat mobil pun pada saat itu sudah luar biasa gitu. Keren, sukanya gitu, antusiasnya, bahagianya melihat mobil bisa seperti itu. Karena waktu itu masih belum ada mobil, baru motor saja, motor pun masih bisa dihitung. Jadi ketika saat itu Abah Anom memutuskan untuk memasukkan teknologi seperti mobil, motor, karena pada saat itu melihat antusias warga yang memang tidak tahu, terus menjadi seperti bahagia gitu. Jadi dibuat seperti itu sampai sekarang. Pada dasarnya Baris Kolot pun tidak melarang untuk hal-hal seperti itu, tetapi membatasi di mana modernisasi itu bisa berjalan gitu. Jadi pada intinya yang tetap tidak boleh tidak boleh modern itu yang kita jalankan itu tentang tatanen atau pertanian itu mengenai Dewi Sri atau padi seperti itu. Itu Bang Intan, Bapak.
Hatur nuhun Teh Elva.
Hatur nuhun. Jantan ya konfirmasi ya, jantan te aya semacam penolakan, semacam eta ti kapungkur ka Abah Anom gitu aya pangintennya.
Nya teu aya gitu. Rugi ka
Saya-
kapungkur teh kantos ngadambel antena TV teh ku radar tina gordeng abah ugi teh. Kumargi memang susah gitu kanggo ka kota janten karena resep ngoprek janten nganggo eta. Saking hoyong terangna supados warga terang ka dunia luar teh gitu.
Oke. Oke, hatur nuhun Teh Elva. Ku abdi coba di
Hatur nuhun Teh Elva.
tarjamahkan. So, because the Cipta Gelar community, they are basically nomadic. So it has been mentioned before that prior to moving to Cipta Gelar, they lived in Cipta Rasa. And actually, the use of such technological devices as cell phones and TV and motorcycles, it has been actually used there in Cipta Rasa by the previous leader, which was Abah Anom, the leader before the current leader, which is Abah Ugi. So when they move to Cipta Gelar, there is no rejection at all, and because as the emergence in the Cipta Rasa has no rejection and resistance at all, so it was going smoothly. But then the way they moved from Cipta Rasa to Cipta Gelar, because at that time the roads were still small and very bumpy, everybody was on foot, so they walked. And once they moved there, the leader saw an opportunity, and the leader saw and he thought that the roads should be wider and better and smoother so that cars and motorcycles can go there. And once they finished developing the roads, people were so excited that they started throwing monies and gifts to the moving cars and motorcycles, or as we call it, sawer, as the form of excitement. So to sum up, there was no resistance and rejections even from the elder community, as long as it doesn't touch the rice field farming, because it is a sign of respect to the goddess of farming, Dewi Sri. All right, next question. Oh, Salma, right? Okay, after Salma, we have Ibu Harlina and Novita. Oh, and I think those will be the last three questions, because we will have another session with Pak Fidi, unfortunately. I'm really sorry. Okay, Salma, please.
Okay, thank you, Pak Ubad. May I ask the question in Bahasa, or should I ask it in English?
I think in English is better.
Okay, English will be okay. Well, as mentioned before, that Teh Elva said the Cipta Gelar community is already open to a proper higher education.
Oh, ke Teh Elva.
Yeah, I would like to ask a question to Teh Elva, but maybe you can translate it later. Okay.
Okay.
As she mentioned before, that Cipta Gelar community is already very open to the proper higher education. But as I quote in the video, her parents told her that you may go to school, go study, to expand your horizon, expand your knowledge, your experience, but it's not about to get money. Like, I mean, I'm curious, is it at the end, if you already get a degree, like bachelor degree, are you not may not allowed to go get a job outside the community? But what if you want to go get a job? What is gonna happen? I think that's it.
Okay, hatur nuhun Teh Salma. Teh Elva tadi teh kan saurna di video teh diceritakan bahwa aku bahasa Indonesia diceritakan bahwa di Cipta Gelar mah kita malah dianjurkan untuk apa namanya mengenyam pendidikan setinggi mungkin. Mung tadi teh kan geningan aya moto kumaha teh motona teh terkait pendidikan teh hilap deui abdi.
Ngajebarkeun hate.
Nah, eta ngajembarkeun hate.
Ulah ngajebarkeun harta.
Ulah ngajembarkeun harta. Terima kasih Kang Fidi. Nah, kumaha upami misalnya anu tos uwih ti kota sakola luhur anjeunna hoyong milarian damar di luar Cipta Gelar eta kenging henteu.
Mohon langsung diwawarinten Pak.
Mangga.
Jantan misalna kanggo keluar bade damel mangga teu sawios teu aya nu teu dikengingkeun gitu. Mangga wae tapi dina sataun sakali mah kedah uih. Kasepuh atau napi ka Cipta Gelar gitu.
Hatur nuhun. So, to answer your question, what it is meant by the slogan or the motto to expand education is to expand the horizon rather than to earn money, is that the main purpose of education is actually to expand your horizon, but you can earn money, but that cannot be the sole purpose of your education. So whenever those earning the higher education and then wanted to pursue their career outside Cipta Gelar are actually allowed, as long as they have to remember their own place. So like for instance, at least once a year, they have to return to the village and then socialize and interact with them. So it's totally okay. Next, we have Ibu Harlina, please. Ibu Harlina, are you here?
Yeah.
Okay, silakan
Thank you,
Bu.
Pak Ubad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my first questions will be addressed to Pak Abu. Yeah.
Yes, Bu.
Yeah. Hearing about Baduy, it seems that it is almost similar to Kajang.
Yes.
Kajang tradition. In this case, I want to know, is there anyone or someone who is responsible to look after the honey,
the product,
or fishery and forest and mountain? Yeah, I asked that kind of questions because in Kajang there is a certain person who is given the job or responsible to care for this like honey, fishery, rattan, and and what else? Rattan and forest. Yeah, forest. Yeah. How about in Baduy, Pak Abu?
Okay.
Yeah.
Robert, should I answer straight away?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Bu Lina. Yes,
Yeah.
so I think the Kajang and the Baduy people, they share some commonalities, similarities. For example, I remember last time you mentioned inner and outer Kajang.
Yeah,
and so,
inner and outer, yeah.
Yeah, so we can also find the same thing with the Baduy people. Yes, that's right, because Baduy people, I think that's also the case with all indigenous community. They want to preserve, they want to maintain harmony with the people, with the human, with the nature. So they do not want to exploit the nature.
Oh, yeah.
So for example, with farming, they have schedule. They believe that farming, planting is only once a year.
Yes.
They cannot do it twice or three times a year. No. Because they want to respect that land should get rest.
Yeah. Yes.
So after planting, they leave the land for the whole year and then they will start again next year. So for example, that's one. And also for other natural resources. So for example, for fishing, yes. So the fishing, for example, they only use what's that one? Manual or natural tools. Yeah. They do not use, for example, the modern one like using poison or something. Yes, where the other people use it. So because it will destroy the habitat, the environment. So yes, Bu Halina, they have Jaro. Jaro is the leader, and this Jaro has some different responsibilities. So they have more than one Jaro. So Jaro for preserving, so Jaro, and then for this area and this area. So, so they want to preserve the nature because they believe that the forest is the source of their life.
Yes.
I think that's happened also with where Pak Handro mentioned about Papuan people.
Yes.
So this community people, the forest is the source of their life, which is also true for us, right? I think it's also true for us, for modern people, the people in the city, the urban people, where forest is our life. Forest is the lung of our life. That's why Indonesia is one, like Indonesia and Brazil are the lung of the world, the globe, because forest is the source of our life. So, for example, although the farming, yes, I know that the farming, the technology is very traditional. It's slash and burning farming, which is of course not good. But they know that they will only clear the land which is what's it one? Which is specifically designed for farming. As I mentioned earlier, they divide the forest into three parts: the forest for farming, the forest for food hunting, and the forest for conservation. So they stick to this regulation. So any violation to this will end up in what's that one? Local punishment. So yes, that's right, Bruce. So they have the people, the Jaro, which is responsible for farming, Jaro for fishing, the Jaro for preserving the forest and everything. So I think that's almost the same case with the Kajang people.
The same as Kajang people. We call it
and I think
Gala.
You call it Gala, yeah?
Thank
you call
you
it
so
Jaro
much.
here. Jaro.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pak Abu and Bu Haruna.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we have two last questions, and please to Novita and Nurul go straight to the question because we still have one more session with Pak Fidi after this session. Yeah, Novita, please.
Yes, I have a question for Kang Daniel. So, what is the most interesting findings of Sundanese cultures that makes you keep studying it until today?
Daniel, you can say Sundanese, eh?
Yeah, a little bit, not so, but I'm quite interested in music, especially in music. But I think I found like the real heart of Sundanese culture in the traditional village. So I visit Kanekes like Baduy around 5 times, Cipta Gelar one time, and also Kampung Kute, Cirende, no, not Cirende, Cigugur, and Kampung Naga. So I visit a little bit because there is where we can find like the oldest knowledge, the oldest traditions about Sundanese, like in anthropology, like the less contaminated. They say that, no, the more far is the less contaminated from outside influences. So and especially Baduy, for me, it's like such an amazing place. Maybe it's the most amazing place I've ever been in my whole life. Like it's like just going to all times. So first time I went there, I had the chance to listen to Angklung for a rice ritual. So they were just playing Angklung in the village in the night, and it's very beautiful sound. It's not the Angklung all the people know, like Diatonized Angklung promoted by Sound Angklung Ujo is different Angklung. So it's very beautiful sound. Yeah, I think that and the philosophy which is behind the music. Like for example, I'm the instrument I've been learning more is the suling. So my teacher told me like you need to clean your heart to play suling, because you are kind of like improvising and putting feeling, putting rasa. So if you not clean your heart, you won't be good, no? And he told me like, if you can play Ayunan Bin, which is a song like for lullaby for the children, and if you can play that and some mother cries, then you are already lulus. You approve your music. Yeah, I think I can share a little bit like that.
Yeah, why not? Show it.
Oh, to play? No, I can't.
Oh, okay then.
Not
But
yet.
you did. Yeah, but you did it. You
Woman
find okay.
Do
Well,
you
thank
have,
you.
Daniel, do you have suling, Neil?
Yeah, I can play a little bit, but
Can you play a bit?
Yeah, just
I will try, but I don't think I will make someone cry.
yeah, not now, but maybe later.
Maybe later. A little bit.
Wow, that was
excellent.
epic. We just had a world-class performance. That was a Sudanese traditional instrument played by a Mexican. I mean, it's international. Thank you so much, Daniel. Well, unfortunately, we've come to the last question from Nurul. So please, Nurul.
Hello, thank you. My question is for the Elva. All right, as someone who has been exposed to the outside world or urban life, do you personally think your own community should start switching to utilizing machines as part of the agricultural activities in order to maximize the quality and quantity of the farming products, or are you completely agreeing with your cultural beliefs?
Oh,
Yeah, that's my question. Thank
oh,
you.
that's quite spicy. Teh Elva, salur Teh Nurul, soalnya kan Teh Elva sudah melanglang buana ke sana kemari dan sudah melihat berbagai macam teknologi, termasuk teknologi pertanian. Ketika Teh Elva sudah melihat kemajuan di teknologi pertanian dan pulang lagi ke Cipta Gelar, apakah ada di dalam lubuk hati Teh Elva tuh, aduh kayaknya ini sebenarnya kalau pakai teknologi ini bisa lebih cepat, bisa lebih efektif, atau Teh Elva memang sudah teguh bahwa pertanian itu mah nggak boleh, jadi tidak terbersit untuk menggunakan teknologi dalam pertanian.
Ya, mohon jangan langsung diwalaroai ya Pak.
Mangga langsung.
Jadi sempat terpikir oleh saya ketika di Bandung, kan di Bandung masak nyangu nganggo magicom ente tiasa nganggo awu da tebih jangan nalika nyangu di
lembur
Bandung teh kacida pisan gampilna gitu. Jangan pas ka lembur teh saat kapeung mah sok aya nah
ngarumas ya
magicom wae gitu. Dah susah tapi udah terbiasa gitu. Jangan tetap tidak bisa ketika pulang tetap gak bisa ya. Itu baik benar.
Jantan dilema. Okay. Ya, atur nuhun Teh Elva, luar biasa. Well, to answer your question, Nurul, when she took her bachelor's degree in UPI in Bandung, she actually used a rice cooker, and she thought that oh my God, this is so easy, it's so quick and effective, and it crossed her mind that if people were to use that kind of device, the rice cooker, things would have been easier. But then when she came back, she knew that no, this is the value, the local wisdom that she needs to preserve. So no, but yeah, it ever crossed her mind. Tapi rasanya Hau lebih enak, betul sekali. Okay, one last question. Apparently we have one last question from Lotte. This is the final opportunity to ask question, and after this, we close the talk show. Lotte, please.
Yes, okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask the last question. It's a question for Pa Ahmad from Baduy.
Yes,
because I was a bit touched by your story that it's becoming more popular for tourists to come to the Baduy. And I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on how we can make the tourism more sustainable, that it doesn't destroy the nature and that the Baduy can still preserve their local beliefs while they encounter tourists bringing their camera maybe or their phone, I don't know, but when they encounter other people. So what should be done according to you to balance this so that it's and I was also curious, how do the Baduy people perceive the tourists? Do they see them as something desirable, as a source of income, or I'm curious to hear more about that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Lotte. Yes. Okay. So first of all, I think that's right that Baduy has become one of the favorite destination, and it's promoted by the local provincial government, which I think is good. Yes, and I think that's also compatible with what the Baduy people want. Yes, they also want to interact with others, especially the outsider one. What happened now is it has been running that the tourists come to Baduy Beach because that's also geographically it's very easy to reach. From Jakarta, it takes only 4 hours. Different from Kajang or from the Asmat where there is no infrastructure there. But again, I think what the government need to do is first, beside only promoting, they also need to think of developing the infrastructure to build to the area. What Daniel and others and Favidi may have known, to reach the area takes long because the road is very bumpy, very bad. Yes, from my village, which is only 20 kilometers, we may need 1 hour, 2 hours to reach the destination. So that's the first one. So the infrastructure. The second one is, I think the government need to have more, stricter regulation with the tourists. I understand that the local people also need tourists because they also need economy. They need to sell the product to the tourists. But at the same time, there should be a strict regulation, I think, imposed by the government that, for example, regulating the behavior, the conduct of the tourists when visiting the tourism site. For example, when the Jaro, the local, says that no camera to the local people, then the tourists should follow this one. I think that's what happened with the people in Bali. Pecalang, Pecalang in Bali, the Balinese people. Pecalang, or the culture enforcer, they have really authority, yes, to regulate the visitors. So I think the local people with the government, they need to enforce this regulation, how to protect the Baduy people. For example, the tourists, how to conduct, the tourists have good conduct during their visit, how the tourists are not supposed to litter, to bring their rubbish to the area, for example. And also how the tourists should pay attention to local wisdom, for example, as the case with those visitors, the teenagers from Jakarta who swam in the river without paying attention to the local wisdom regulation, that what happened to them is that disaster happened to them. The local people say that because they do not respect the local wisdom, the local spirit, they believe that the local spirit were angry to them, to the visitors, and that's what happened. So it ends in the death of the visitors. So, Lotte, I think that's right. So the government needs more support. That's what I recommend in my study. For example, with education, the regular funding for education, for example, we call in Bahasa Indonesia, what's that one? dana bantuan operasional dari BOS, yes, bantuan operasional sekolah or school operational funding. For Baru people, it's not enough. So the government need to have extra funding because the parental participation is very low among Baru people. With the local people in Indonesia, the parent can support their children's schooling, but with Baru people, no, they don't have that fund. And also besides, they believe that formal schooling, for example, is not relevant with their traditional or local culture. So that's right. So this tourist is still needed by the local people, but at the same time, there should be a balance between the tourists' need to visit to see the local people and also the local people need for economy brought by the tourists. So by this one, then the tourists, the Baduy people will sustain and serve as the local tourism attraction for the local government and also for Indonesia. That's my response, Lotte. I hope it answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Pak Abu and Lotte. Now that Pak Abu has responded to Lotte's question, it is time for me to close the talk show. And my apologies, I have to leave this meeting earlier because I have another meeting to attend. So thank you so much. And let's give a big round of applause to all 3 speakers of today's talk show. That was such a great, splendid presentation. And now I will give it back to Alfa to chair the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pak Ubat.
You're very welcome.
Thank
Bye,
you very
everyone.
much, Pak Ubat. All right. Thank you very much, Pak Ubat, and also to all of our speakers for today. Excuse me, could you please turn off your microphone? All right. After joining the discussion with all of our speakers, I feel like as an Indonesian, wow, I feel like I know so little about it, and yeah, I hopefully we all could learn more about our own culture. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give the opportunity to Pak Fidi to give us a little bit of explanation on what we are going to do tomorrow. So, Pak Fidi, are you ready?
Yes, thank you so much,
sir.
Alfa.
Monsieur.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you very much, Pak Ubat. And especially to our lovely speakers, Kang Abu, Teh Elva, and Kang Daniel. Thank you so much for sharing. So now, so this is for all the participants. So today is the end of the speaker session. So we won't hear any other speakers. It's our turn, it's your turn to discuss, to come up with a resolution, because this program is a project-based program. So it is expected that we come out with some output. And tomorrow is the time for your output, your insights. And for tomorrow, let me share what we're going to have for tomorrow. Right, so tomorrow is 28th of August, 2020. As you probably know, that I believe that you have made some notes on your assigned issues regarding to your mission or your project for this program. Let me remind you what we're going to have tomorrow. First, okay, tomorrow the committee will provide us 6 breakout rooms because there are 6 subgroups, depends on our issues, yeah, the issues that has been assigned. So the operator will assign everyone to your particular subgroup. Then you can discuss and choose who's gonna be your the group's chairperson, and the tomorrow's session all is about your discussion, to elaborate, to talk about what have you found during these 8 days, and what can you contribute, yeah, as a resolution for the last day. Because on the last day of the summer program, each group is expected to present a 10-minute presentation about the findings and the perspective. So I know you have to make notes, I believe so. So in order to help you formulate the issues, and first to jog our memories, this is the core issues that I delivered on the first day. So you need to address all of these issues based on your assigned issues, because there are 3 core issues: education, gender, and nationalism. So each group should address those. So to help you formulate and to ease your discussion, so you may make something like this. So I provide a form for you. So I'll distribute this form to the group. So your Indonesian counterpart will disseminate this form. So you can put all your notes collect it here in this form. For example, your name, assigned issue nationalism, subgroup 1, you can identify the presenter, the topic, the key highlights, what the presenter talked. For example, when I did my presentation, I only cover the general things, and your finding based on the assigned issues, since your group is nationalism, so it's based on your findings. This is just an example. For example, the green one, it's the positive things about the issues, and there's concerning issues also. I put red things, and then what can we do about it? So we need to do something about it for further improvement, or an alternative solution that you can suggest, you can provide for the output or the resolution of this program as a whole. The same thing with the 2nd day, 3rd day, until today. But for example, if you ask a question about, I don't think that the second speaker talk about nationalism, that's fine. This form is provided just to help you with the discussion. So when you have the discussion, each member could present their findings, and then in each group, we can elaborate, okay, we can see the pattern. Oh, so this is the raised issues in the group that we can elaborate, and then we can present it on the final day of the program. So I hope it helps. Yeah, I hope this form could help you to structurize your discussion tomorrow. So I will send this PowerPoint presentation, these slides particularly, for each and every one of you. So each and every one of you could make notes, and then tomorrow you will discuss based on your notes and see the pattern, synthesize the pattern. So hopefully we could come up with the expected outcomes. So yes, that will be all for the information about tomorrow discussion session. If you have questions, let me know. Okay, so for now, I'll give it back. I'll give the floor back to Alfat. So Alfat, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Fidi, for the brief explanation regarding on what we are going to do tomorrow. All right, as Pak Fidi has mentioned before, that if you have any questions, oh, there's already a question from, wait, where is it? Mike Kylie. Have all of the presentations been put in the Google Drive now?
All right, so I will consult this to the committee. Ibu Uci, I hope that by this afternoon, by today, all of the PowerPoint presentation of our presenters is uploaded into the Google Drive, so the participants could track back what they have seen. Thank you. Probably Ibu Uci.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Pak Fidi, and also Mikaeli for the question. And now, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, our time has ended. But before we go, let's just take a picture together. So yeah, I hope everyone could turn their camera on. And Navita, could you please help me to screenshot the screen?
Sure.
All right, on your command.
All right, everyone, please be ready in 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time, but wait. I have to put it. Okay, now please be ready in 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Novita.
Thank you, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending today's session, and we hope that we could meet again tomorrow. And yeah, thank you very much, and see you tomorrow. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Alfat, Pak Ahmad Bukhari, Kang Daniel, Teh Elva.
Thank you, everyone. Terima kasih.
Baktos ka Abah Ugi. Mohon sarang sadaya.
Mohon Teh Elva.
Anutos ngabantosan. Hatur nuhun pisan. Terima kasih ya. Ya, Kang Daniel hebat sulingnya.
Masih lama. Tidak akan bisa seperti orang sini.
Itu bisa sedikit lagi membuat kita menangis, cuman kurang lama.
Ya,
kurang lama. Kalau lebih lama lebih bisa.
Singkat waktunya.
Ya, thank you very much for all the participants. Semoga kita ketemu lagi besok ya. Ibu Harlina juga terima kasih banyak, Ibu. Ya, mereka besok akan masuk ke diskusi. Mungkin nanti kita akan undang Ibu lagi di hari Senin. Hari Senin melihat presentasi dari teman-teman peserta. Seperti itu, Ibu, mohon kehadirannya. Teh Elva dan Kang Daniel juga hari Senin mudah-mudahan bisa ikut melihat presentasi teman-teman ya, seperti apa begitu. Terima kasih banyak. Ivani, bagaimana progres uploadingnya? Oke.
Dari Bu yang atas-atas, tapi yang saya belum ketemu itu yang Bu Vina. Waktu itu Bu Vina kan katanya mau masukin referensi dulu, tapi sepertinya belum kirim lagi Bu Vina.
Oh ya, nanti saya cek dulu ya, Ivani, ke Bu Vina ya. Belum ya.
Yang lainnya sudah oke ya?
Yang lainnya Pak Handro saya belum ketemu Bu. Yang Pak Handro. Atau
dari
mungkin
grup, ya?
Pak Handro ada di grup kayaknya, Pan.
Atau mungkin di email kayaknya ya Bu. Soalnya kalau di grup saya nggak ketemu.
Oke,
Handro itu yang video ini ya, Teh?
Video mana?
Presentasi, maksudnya presentasinya itu yang dalam bentuk video.
Ada di dalam bentuk video.
Ada di Salma kalau nggak salah, link Google Drive nanti dikirim ke Teh saya.
Oke, siap.
Oke, iya seperti itu. Terima kasih banyak Bu Cici, Nafisa, Dika, Diva, Sabil. Bagaimana, sehat Sabil? Alfa, Teh Ivani, ya, Kang Daniel, Teh Elva. Titip salam buat Abah Ugi ya, Teh Elva ya. Abah Ugi dan Abah Ugi, Teh siapanya Teh Elva? Sekalian tanya. Masih
Ibu.
Kenapa?
Kakak. Kakak, Bu.
Oh, kakak. Iya tuh. Tadi soalnya tidak disebutkan.
Oh iya.
Teh Elva ada cipta gelar teh dari di Sukabumi seberapa jam ke mana arahna?
Betul Pak.
Di Sukabumi teh ke arah
Pelabuhan.
Cipotok. Mohon, Pelabuhan.
Oh, ke arah Cipotok ya.
Mohon.
Ticu kotok nyambung ke Kalangkas kan kalebak.
Mohon Kak Bayah Kamalimting.
Bayah, ya. Saya punya saudara dari Banten nikah sama orang Palabuhan.
Wawancara lanjutan, Pak Bu.
Iya, wawancara lanjutan. Ini mumpung ada Teh Elvanya.
Iya, wawancara lanjutan. Saya punya saudara yang nikah sama orang Palabuhan. Dia kalau mudik lewat Bayah, pulang nggak pernah lewat jalur Bogor ke kampungnya Bu Uci. Karena lebih dekat.
Iya.
Abi teh uninga teh Elva teh ti mahasiswa anu kapungkur ka Cipta Gelar.
Angkatan berapa di PBS?
Kumaha Bapak?
Tahun seberapa di PBS?
2016 nembe lulus kemarin.
Oh, kenapa saya tidak pernah bertemu ya selama di PBS?
Ari Bapak.
Kan satu fakultas, satu buci.
Oh iya bener ya.
Anu ngarekomendasikeun Teh Elva teh ya saya hiji mahasiswa abdi, kedua Teh Temi, apa Bu Temi?
Oh, Bu Temi. Ya.
Bu Temi tatanggi abdi.
Di mana?
Kapungkur di Patra Komala di Bandung.
Dan ternyata Kang Daniel juga kenal Elva, Kang Daniel ya?
Iya, Kang Daniel sudah kenal. Kang Daniel kalau Elva bicara pakai bahasa Sunda ngerti ya?
Ngerti ya tuh Daniel mah nyeresnya ketiasa tuh.
Waktu ngirim Katumbiri, kelompok Katumbiri di
kelompok Katumbiri
ya?
Bahasa Sunda.
Mohon
ya. Ya alhamdulillah ya desa silaturahmi di dia alhamdulillah.
Ya. Tur nuhun oge ya
biasana bahasa Sundana.
Oh iya ka Teh Nafisa kangge telefonna nya lamun eta bingung bikin Teh Elva teleponnya di mana untung teh aya Nafisa teh apal.
Amun. Saka bumi.
Ngetop Teh Elva aja nih. Oh itu mah cenah senior saya. Kita Nafisa di grup ya. Nuhun ya terus Teh Elva.
Mohon sami-sami.
Atur nuhun saudara.
Saya live dulu Pak Abu.
Iya sama.
Terima kasih banyak.
Izin pamit semuanya.
Mangga.
Ya, assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Saya tutup ininya ya.
Ya Pak, mangga Pak, atur nuhun.
Assalamualaikum saudara.